Good morning and welcome to Saxo Bank's live market call. Today is Friday, 30th of November. We had quite some interesting figures coming out yesterday. During the European session, the Czech central bank hiked its key interest rates by 25 basis points, thus bringing the 3.25% interest rates to 3.5%. This still is the lowest interest rate level figure in Europe. Later in the afternoon, we had some interesting, somewhat mixed U.S. figures. First of all, the third quarter GDP came out as expected at 4.9%. This indeed indicates a rather robust growth in the U.S., so this was somewhat of a positive surprise, but at the same time we saw the personal consumption growing at 2.7%, but this was somewhat lower than expected, as the expectations were for a growth of 2.9%. But as the holiday season is approaching, or as we are entering the holiday season, the expectation is that the personal consumption is again yet to pick up some speed. Very soon after this, we had U.S. initial claims coming out at 352,000. This was against an expectation of 330,000, so a little bit of a disappointment there. But right after that, we had some new home sales for the month of October. This was very important, of course, coming out at 728,000, and this was exactly as expected. So again, overall, somewhat mixed but positive figures from U.S. In the marketplace, yen is now lower as carry trade formation has started once again. Dollar yen is now trading around 110 and 40. However, dollar is somewhat firm against euro, with euro dollar trading at 147.35. On the equity markets, we had marginal gains in the American sessions. Basically, the American stocks were able to protect the gains they had from the Wednesday session. However, the Asian stocks were quite bullish, with Nasdaq extending the Wednesday gains and closing Friday, up by 0.20%. On the fixed income side, treasuries are basically posting their 12-year best month. However, for the day, they were little changed. JGBs as well as European bonds were just marginally higher. On the commodity side, we've seen some pretty violent price action on the crude prices. This is in relation to the pipeline fire in U.S. Currently, the crude is trading around $91 a barrel, but this is after a spike of $4 higher. Gold consolidates just below $800 an ounce, and of course the silver is following gold in this price action, currently trading at 14.20. So what's going on in the marketplace? Well, the other day we had Donald Kahn coming out stating that basically the threat to spending from reduced liquidity is very much existing. And this contrasted some of the comments that the heads of Chicago and Philadelphia Federal Reserve Banks had made a few days earlier. This time around, we had the Fed Chairman Bernanke himself in a speech yesterday making very much similar comments, very similar to those of Donald Kahn, and effectively moving away from Fed's October assessment that growth and inflation are roughly balanced. So this is, of course, given the equity markets further reason to believe that there are indeed chances of a rate cut in the U.S. in December are indeed stronger. As expected, the dollar index is now basically in for a third monthly loss. And this has to do, of course, not only with the expectations of a rate cut in the U.S., but also the Gulf Cooperation Council meeting in the month of December the 4th, and expectations is that some of the member states may opt to flex their U.S. dollar pegs, if not entirely unpeg, but at least reduce the dollar amount of reserves that they hold and replace it with other alternative currencies. And as we had mentioned earlier, the fire damage to Canada-US pipeline has indeed caused some pretty violent price action in the crude prices. The crude prices actually managed to move within a range of $4 in a day in yesterday's trading, and this is indeed a rather large range. In continuation to yesterday's figures, we have some more interesting figures coming out today. 10 GMT, we have the Eurozone CPI estimates as well as the Eurozone GDP. This is for the third quarter. So now that we've seen the US GDP figures coming out at very robust levels, it will be interesting to see what the European counterparty figures are. The expectations are for 2.8% growth in Eurozone. Later in the afternoon at 14:45 GMT, we have the Chicago PMI, as well as construction spending for the month of October. And later in the evening, around 9 p.m. GMT, we have Fed's pool speaking about a bailout and a Fed put at Cato Institute. On the FX side, we have a two-way trade in euro-dollar today. The signal to short was at 147.33, so we have a working order to sell only a half position at the break of 147.34 offer with a target of 47.60. So that's a rather moderate target, and we are keeping a tight stop at 1.4759. For long positions, we would recommend that those be established above 47.81 bid. We need to see some more US figures, of course, to get clear action. But at this point, we are taking a rather cautious approach to trading euro-dollar. On the equity side, we're looking at the DAX index. As we've had a rather bullish Asian session, we believe that Europe is going to open up positive, and our intention is to buy DAX at dips below. With stops just below 7725, and buying at any dips with a target of 78.50. Well, today that is it. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again on Monday. Have a nice weekend.